Feeling stuck with your Instagram strategy? Wondering why your posts aren't getting the engagement they deserve? Are you posting daily and your follower count just isn't going up? Look, I don't want you to keep endlessly scrolling through other people's content wondering like what they're doing and you're not. It's real simple. They just know how to test. And in this video, I want to break down the 10 specific tests that all Instagram pros swear by. We're talking the types of content you post, the hashtags you used, even the captions and your calls to action. And by the end of this video, you're going to have a checklist of actionable tests and a framework to test that could be your game changer. So let's get into it, and remember, hit that like button and the subscribe button if you find this information valuable. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Emmanuel, and this channel is all about helping solopreneurs amplify their marketing without really draining their resources. Look, I've been in your shoes before, posting regularly but seeing little to no growth or engagement. Now, after a lot of testing and iterations, the systems that we've developed around here have successfully helped us as well as our clients achieve some real growth. And everything I'm going to be taking you through today, it's 100% actionable, so you can just take it and run with it. So I want to start off by saying that if you're thinking that just by posting content consistently, you're going to be able to get more likes, followers, and engagement, let me shift that belief right now. Simply posting content, it's just not good enough. Look, there's a ton of competition out there, and the algorithm is way too complex for a post it and they will come strategy. So that means that we need to get a lot more serious and dive deep into the specific actionable tests that you'll be needing to be practicing on a regular basis to really move the needle on your Instagram strategy. Before I get into the actual tests that we're going to be going through, I first want to introduce to you a proven framework to really help measure those tests so that you know if what you're doing is working or not. It's called SMART, and it stands for specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound. And when we're going to be conducting these 10 tests, you'll want to make sure that you're going to be smart about it. So that means having a specific goal in mind, making sure that it's measurable, making sure that it's achievable with your resources, making sure that it's relevant to your audience and your goals, and of course that there is a constraint by time to allow us to evaluate if this test worked or not. That way you're not just throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks, you're actually conducting targeted experiments designed to produce real tangible improvements in terms of your Instagram strategy. Now that we've set the stage for the kind of mindset that you're going to need to have, let's roll up our sleeves and let's dive into the first test that you should be running to optimize your Instagram strategy. And remember, we're using the SMART framework to make sure that each of these tests are actionable and goal-oriented. And let's start with test 1, which is varying times of posting. You might be surprised to find out that the timing of your posts can make a significant impact on its engagement. Now, before we dive in, remember, we're going to use a SMART framework to test, starting with S for specific. The specifics here, it's really up to you, but for example's sake, let's say that our specific goal is that we want to maybe try to increase our post engagement by 10%. In terms of measurable, let's use what Instagram has as our tool for this, which is Instagram Insights. We can track our engagements, we can track our likes, our comments, our shares, our conversations. By the way, the M for the 10 experiments that we're going to be going through in this video, quick heads up, it's all going to be measured by Instagram Insights. Makes it really easy for us to look at all the data. In terms of A for achievable, we have to ensure that we have all of the resources to be able to post at different times on different days. That usually means maintaining consistency. If you're posting once a day, let's make sure we post once a day. Of course, you have enough content to post once a day. In terms of relevant, the relevance here is pretty obvious. More engagement generally means better visibility and more organic reach. And then lastly, T for time or time bound. Let's give this test a duration of 2 weeks. It's long enough to collect data, but not long enough that we'll lose momentum. Also, for all of the T's in all of these remaining 10 tests, the time period is always going to be 2 weeks. That's just a roundabout time to collect enough data and really evaluate if the test worked or not. So for the next 2 weeks, try posting at different times of the day, maybe morning, afternoon, and evening. And then after 2 weeks, review the metrics, see which times resulted in higher engagement rates. Now, by the end of this test, the goal is real simple. You should be able to identify at least 1 or 2 time slots where your audience is most active. And that'll allow you to focus really on posting future posts around those time slots. After nailing down ideal times to post, let's move on to experiment or test number 2, which is exploring different content types. Instagram it's not just about pretty pictures anymore. With features like stories, reels, Instagram TV, the platform offers multiple ways for you to connect with your audience, but really which one works best for you? Again, let's use the SMART framework to figure this out. In terms of specific, your goal is to find out which content type, whether it's photos, carousel posts, stories, reels, or IGTV, result in the most or best engagement for your profile. In terms of achievable, we need to make sure that we can be realistic and produce various types of content for this test period. So this means making a lot of content. It doesn't mean that you have to invest in a fancy camera. Just use your smartphone. It's going to be good enough to produce content at mass. And in terms of relevant, the test here is super relevant because we want to invest our time and creative energy in content that actually resonates with our audience. Now that you've gotten a grip on when to post and what types of content really resonate with your audience, let's move on to the next crucial element, which are captions. Yes, the words that accompany your visual content can be super important as well. So test number 3, it's all about caption variability. This test is all about answering a simple question. Do short and sweet captions work better, or does your audience prefer like mini blogs? Again, using the SMART framework to test. Specific, the objective here is to compare engagement rates for posts with different caption types, short versus long, or maybe funny versus serious. Achievable, we're gonna write out a variety of captions for your post ahead of time. This could be done in batches to make this process be a lot more efficient. Now, in terms of relevant, the words that we use to communicate your visual content, they're incredibly significant. A good caption can inspire shares, comments, and other forms of engagement. So at this point, you're probably about 6 weeks in, and I'm hoping that you've become more of a scientist with your Instagram strategy. You've tackled posts, content types, post times, and even the art of captioning. But now let's unpack another thing inside of the Instagram toolbox that we can be testing, which are hashtags. Test number 4, it's all about hashtag variability. And in general, the question that we're trying to answer is, are hashtags effective? Should we niche down in the hashtags? Using SMART, let's kind of dive into the things that we should be looking for. Specific, your aim here is to understand how different types of hashtags affect your post's discoverability and engagement. Things to compare, maybe going general with the hashtags like hashtag love or hashtag food, or maybe going really specific with the type of content that you're posting. So in my case, it might be hashtag solopreneur life, or hashtag budgeting hacks, or hashtag systems. In terms of achievable, we want to gather a list of hashtags. In this case, one of the tools I like to use is a tool called Hashtagify. Or the other thing that we can do is just use good old Instagram. Search for maybe 30 or 45 hashtags to cycle through and use 3 to 5 of them for each post. Now, in terms of relevance, hashtags can be significantly useful in terms of expanding your post beyond your current followers. That's what makes this test super duper important. Do they even work? Should you be posting hashtags at all? We're gonna find out real quick just by running the simple test. You've made it this far, congratulations. You're committing to this scientist role now, at least I'm hoping you are. And I'm willing to bet that your Instagram strategy, it's really starting to evolve now. You've tackled times, content types, captions, hashtags. Now let's get a little bit more interactive. Test number 5 is all about playing around with the interactive elements of Instagram. When I'm talking about Instagram elements, I'm talking about things like polls, questions, sliders. You know, those pieces that you can maybe add to your stories or some of your posts? They can be a goldmine for engagement. Question is, how do you optimize for them? And let's use the SMART framework to find out. In terms of specific, the goal here is that we want to measure how adding interactive elements to your posts or stories affects engagement. In terms of achievable, we don't want to use a graphic designer for this. Instagram actually provides a lot of these cool little interactive features natively. The aim here is to schedule out or create some content and make sure that we include at least one of these interactive elements in each one of our stories or our posts, and then obviously give it our 2-week test period. And in terms of relevant, interactive elements are vital for increasing engagement. They require people to do something, and the whole point here is that we want to try to test if people will actually do something based off of the interactive element that we choose. You made it through 5 rigorous tests, and your Instagram game, it should be leveling up at this point. So let's move on from solitary tasks to something more social. Let's talk about collaborations and reach outs. So test number 6 is really all about collaborations and reach outs. Does collaborating with other Instagram users or giving and receiving shoutouts drastically boost our visibility? Using SMART, let's figure it out. Specific. All right, the objective here is we want to determine if collaborations and shoutouts actually increase our metrics in terms of followers, growth, reach, engagement. In terms of achievable, plan here is simple. We want to reach out to other Instagram users who have a similar or complementary audience that we do. And then let's arrange some mutual shoutouts or some collaborations on content like story takeovers or maybe joint live videos. And in terms of relevant, the idea behind this test is simple. We want to expand our audience by tapping into someone else's follower base, thereby making this test super important because we can essentially use some of their audience for growth. Great job so far. You've made it through 6 comprehensive tests, and your Instagram performance should now be a lot more robust. Moving on to test 7. This test is all about diving into geotags and mentions. Does tagging your posts with relevant locations or mentioning other accounts add an extra layer of engagement or discoverability? Well, let's find out using Smart. So in terms of specific, the goal is for this test to evaluate how adding geotags or location tags and mentions to your posts affect your reach, engagement, and even your follower growth. Achievable. Now, before posting, we want to find relevant locations or accounts to mention or tag. This could be the location where maybe a photo or a video was taken, or maybe a relevant brand or influencer that you want to mention based off of some content that you want to talk about. Key here, keep it authentic. Now, in terms of relevance, let's tag locations that make our posts more discoverable to local searches. By the way, if your service or offering is for a local market, this is going to be super sweet for you to test. Additionally, mentioning accounts can result in reshares for both critically expanding your audience and reach, and of course, giving you a little bit more social proof. Moving on to test 8. Let's shift now our focus to video. So in this case, we're exploring video reel lengths. You see, Reels, they offer a creative way to share engaging video content. But the question is, does the length of the reel matter? Does it count? So let's use Smart to find out. The aim here is to determine how length of our reels impact viewer engagement and viewer reach. So basically, we're going to compare short reels like 15 seconds or less with long reels like 30 seconds or more. Achievable. The idea here is that we want to prep a lineup of reels with varying lengths. Make sure that we have a balanced number of short and long reels to test for these 2 weeks. So 7 short reels, 15 seconds or less, and then 7 long reels, 30 seconds or more. In terms of relevance, Reels, they're a key feature in Instagram nowadays. And understanding how to optimize for them for your audience, it's crucial for really understanding what works and what won't work for your social media strategy. Moving on to test 9, you've now navigated through 8 intricate tests to fine-tune your Instagram strategy. With your Instagram game becoming more scientific and data-driven, it's time to explore another dimension. In this case, let's talk about video content types in Reels. At the end of the day, there's various types of forms of content that you can showcase through Reels. From tutorial videos to behind-the-scenes content, we want to find out which one will people engage with the most. Let's talk specific. The objective of this test is to examine how different types of video content within your Reels affect engagement and reach. You can experiment with different formats like, how-to videos or user-generated content, or maybe behind-the-scenes footage or vlog-style videos, or maybe product showcases. Like, that's just to name a few. In terms of achievable, we want to create a content calendar in this case, and we want it to include a mixture of different types of reels to post over a 2-week period. This will allow us to create comparable data that we can analyze and see which one works and which one doesn't. And lastly, in terms of relevance, given the ever-growing popularity of video content on social media, really understanding the type of real content that you create and how it engages with your audience is invaluable for your overall strategy. Congratulations, we've made it through 9 strategic tests so far, and we're honing in our Instagram skills. Now, this data-driven approach should have delivered some very key insights in terms of how to engage with your audience more effectively. Let's round off this test to test number 10. And in test number 10, we're going to be testing out calls to action. Look, even the most engaging content needs a strong CTA to convert passive viewers into active, engaging participants or customers of your content. The question is, are you using the right words or phrases to spur that action? Let's use Smart to find out. Specific. The goal here is to test to evaluate the effectiveness of different calls to action in driving specific behaviors like clicking to the link in bio, engaging with a post, or even purchasing something. So we're going to want to end each one of our pieces of content with a call to action like clicking my link in bio, liking a video, saving a video, bookmarking a post, or even purchasing something, which really is the A in our SMART goals, achievable. We want to craft different CTAs to see which one works. And in terms of relevant, the CTA, it's super relevant because it's really the bridge between your content and the actions that you want your followers to take. This makes it highly relevant in terms of evaluating the overall performance of your social media strategy.